I don't think it will, and the reason why like I can sort of say that is, regardless if they don't push it or not, the underground scene will push it. That's the thing. Like that's the thing. People, even if like people are like, oh yeah, VRchat not going to promote this, and that's fine. VRchat don't have to promote everything. It's impossible to promote everything on VRchat anyway.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's an impossible task. So like,
welcome back to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest. Round 2.
Oops.
And you are.
hi, my name's Turels. I'm an ex-audio engineer, DJ, and I staff up too many places on VRchat. Way too many.
You know, whenever I hear...
you know, he's got to be the guy standing at the bathroom stall going, "Want some soap?"
No, I'm not like that. I'm like
oh,
keeping
okay.
on people's behavior, and it's just like, oh, they're actually a jackass. Click on them, bang, see you later.
Bang. There, now you got the idea with the soap. You want some soap? There's the soap. Go outside. Go leave me alone. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, so how'd you get started with everything? What got you into VR and staffing all those clubs and as an audio engineer?
Oh God, audio engineering and stuff like that I done for a very long time. Of course, done all my schooling through music and stuff like that. Done that for many years. Worked in many different places, wore many different hats. Before 2015, actually, I think it was April, March 2015. I basically became heavily disabled. I suffer with a complaint called adult onset Still's disease, which is incredibly rare. It's like 1 out of 100,000 people get it. Basically, it's an autoimmune condition, and doctors don't even know what triggers it. It just happens. And usually there's multiple different things. It happens with different people. So with some people, they get it, it disappears, it never comes back. There's people like me who have ended up with mobility issues, chronic pain issues. Sometimes I have issues looking at natural light if my pain's overreactive. Fluid in lungs, all lovely other stuff that can happen with the condition. Because basically it's your own body going, yeah, I'm just going to try and kill you now. Which is basically it.
Most people try to do it the hard way themselves. He just going, goddamn, nature just says, fuck you.
Basically. Hey, it's been like that since I was 5 years old. I'm a type 1 diabetic as well. And that one.
Oh, God, shit, wow. I can't win for Jesus fucking Christ. God damn. Now I'm even shooting that now. I don't even have to go to the street corner and go, can I have some? I need a fixing. No, docs just give me my shit. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. How I came in here was through a friend. Because this was during COVID lockdown. Like mid to late 2021, UK was still going through lockdowns like most people were. And so look, there's this thing, this is club in VR, you may want to think about coming in VR. And I'm like, look, I don't even own a VR headset. I'm not too sure about this. He says, look, trust me, just come, you'll love it. So get into VR chat. Of course, the first place I go into is a black cat, and I see things I'm never going to actually ever explain. That was
hey, Billy's up in the ceiling again, getting it on. That ain't Billy, that's a cactus. If you know what I'm talking about.
And then I got told, hey, you need to add this VR CDN bot, which VR CDN is run by Jazzy. She's a saint. She's one of a few patron saints I like to say in this community, definitely without fault. So I had this bot, and the first event I went to was a shelter, which is ran by Two-Tone, Kai, all them guys. Great set of people. And I was just sitting in the back because I was one of these quiet people. I just sat in the back and just watched and listened, and my jaw just hit the floor. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I really was just like, holy shit. And it's because it's very much underground based in here. Of course, you do get people who do have names. There's people like Bill and Muzz has come through here, B Complex, many other different artists, Gyrofield, who have come through. But it's very much like home ground based here. It's like, I wouldn't say it's underground because everyone who plays VRchat knows about the clubbing scene to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I was just shocked because it was like this sort of, everyone was so well connected.
Yeah.
There wasn't things stopping people from creating or being creative. And this is before I even got to know many people. And of course, through Shell, I went to Loner, went to Ghost Club, sort of drifted around a lot of the other clubs. And there was this special place that used to be in the old shelter map called Delis. It's no longer a thing. You can't get there anymore. So if you weren't there, you're not getting in. Where I met two amazing people. There was a person called Paul Manton and a person called Turels. We just started talking about music. And it was just like, okay, yeah, I used to do audio production, stuff like that, audio engineering work. And Paul was like, you know so much about music. You ever thought about becoming a DJ? And I was like sitting there thinking, well, because of how my disability can affect me, because it can affect my mobility or how my hands are any given day, like today on my left hand, I can't use two of my fingers. So like it sort of flips up on how it affects my mobility. And it was just like, you should think about it. And of course, I met many other people. It took some time to know everybody, because I know you guys have interviewed Rue. She's another saint, by the way.
Oh,
shout out to Rue.
Rue's a sweetheart.
Yeah. And it was just like, I was just kind of shocked. And it took me a long while before like I sort of integrated. It was Paul who got me to start staffing in the clubs in here through Resume, which is Ali Quim's.
She's
Ali
another
Quim's
sweetheart.
place.
Ali and Mo.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just started staffing there. And it took time. And then when I started DJing in here, like I wasn't very good. I said I'm not a DJ. I'm an audio guy. So production audio engineer guy. It's a little bit different. So like, it just took me a while to get used to it. Also because hey, the mobility problems and DJing while being disabled, it just took me a while because I also had to change how my decks are all set up. Where sometimes I have to use foot pedals or I've got to use switches or multiple other accessibility issues. Like, because another way of putting it is like, I'm sure you guys have seen like the Xbox adaptive controller that Microsoft done quite a few years ago.
Yes, I remember that.
It sort of runs sort of the same way, except I'll just keybind it. Okay. So like I'd have to keybind all my stuff through Recordbox. God damn, I hate Recordbox. And it's just like key binding all the stuff and then getting used to it that way as well. Of course, you also need the library of music, which I have so much, it's ridiculous now. But that's how I got in.
Oh wow.
But it's been an amazing journey from 2021 till now. There's been a lot of change, a lot of positives, and that's the things I focus on more than the negatives, because there's so many different experiences you can have within the clubbing scene. You want to go to a CD back alley LA club, there's Shelter. You want to go to Loner, That's also a very dark, dank, grimy club. It works the same way. You want to go to have an experience where it's like a psytrance paradise, you go to all the people who do Beat Syndicate and Toxie and all them guys. You want to, have a visual experience as well as an audio experience. There's concrete. There's so much here, you will always find something. Depending on what your musical tastes are, there's always something for you to find, which is just, it shocks me. It's constant growth, constant creativity. There's even people like Steph who, with other people, done the Rain Dance Festival. Mm-hmm. And I think they won something through that, which is absolutely goddamn amazing. Congratulations to all of them, by the way.
Yeah, I believe Rue won that with Rue's admission, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I have to double check the names later. Congratulations to all them guys.
Okay, congratulations to everybody.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But it's amazing because you get many people who do avatar creation. You get people who do world building. You get people who do, all the stuff like VRCDN and Jazzy and 24 Music and all them guys who are absolutely saints in their own right. And you sort of get people like me that's like, oh yeah, I know little things here and there. So like I try and push people in a creative direction for them to go.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people here who are massively talented already. There's people like Synthesizer, there's people like Woodgraves, Tree Sleeper. I'm trying to think who else. There's tons and tons of others. So many people. And I can't name them all because I'd be here all day. Who produce or do production work or put the stuff on Bandcamp and stuff. And it's just amazing to see. And it's been a pleasure for how many years I've been here. It's been an absolute pleasure. So that's how I got in. I'm sorry for the bit of the waffling, but
never apologize for continuing on something you enjoy talking about. We will never fault you ever. So please don't be sorry. If you want to, as you say, waffle, as we say, rant, go for it. We'll listen to you the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, I gotta go through Raptor. Sorry, I interrupted.
I got a question for you. When you were younger and everything else like this, you talked about it. How did you know that music was your thing? You know, we talked to a lot of people, but we never really asked that question. How do you know what
weird. It was
threw you that down? Well,
I think how that sort of happened with me is like my household when I was a kid growing up was very musically diverse. Like massively. You'd get my dad who would listen to Black Sabbath, Jethro Tull, all them types of geezers. You got my brother who would listen to the drum and bass and jungle scene, early 90s stuff, as well as Guns N' Roses. You had my sister who was a big fan of Mike Jackson and some boy band called Bros, if I remember correctly. And my mum that was into classical music and Whitesnake. And I was always sort of like overflowed with different types of music, and that influence has always been in my life. And like, it wasn't until like, I think it was like, I may be wrong here, maybe about 11 when I actually got my first guitar. Of course, I needed training for that. And like, it took me a while to do that because as a kid, I was a very hyperactive kid. like we all were, right? We're all bouncing off the walls. It just took me a while. And when I just started going through it, something just clicked. I can't explain it, but something just clicked with me. So from that, it was like, okay, I learned bass guitar. Then I learned piano. Some of these I was self-taught myself, and some of these I needed help getting taught. And it just all just sort of clicked. And that was just instrumental stuff. Like going through school, doing all the audio stuff in there, using stuff like Pro Tools, which God forbid, that may be an audio standard, but it's goddamn awful. I'm gonna say that now. I don't care. That's a critique. That's a production critique because I hate Pro Tools. I hated learning it as a kid, and it's still garbage now. And things kept on clicking, if you know what I mean. And it's just like, okay, and then it started involving a lot more in my life. Because music was always in it in one way or another. No matter if I was listening to, I don't know, pop music that you would find on the normal radio, or if I was listening to Black Sabbath and Motorhead, or if I was listening to Beethoven. There was always something, some way that it was just connecting and just fitting in the right places. And I think that maybe because of my early childhood, it pushed me down that path a little bit. And it just all sort of connected that way. If you know what I mean. Sorry, I know that sounds a little bit weird analogy, but like it just seems like things connected.
I have a question for you as well. It's multi-layered, so I'm sorry ahead of time. But what from you learning guitar and all the instruments, what led you into audio engineering, and what is audio engineering versus what like the average VR chat club goer would think it would be?
Okay. So some people who are just like, who don't really know a lot, it could be production work, it could be working in a professional studio work, it could be home studio work. There's so many different aspects that go so many different lines. There's a lot that goes into it. So of course you have to learn your musical basics, stuff like that. I don't know how VR chatters would look at that. It's a weird thing to sort of explain because some people think, oh, okay, you're doing audio engineering. It's just, oh, you're just mixing this. But it's so much more than that on so many different levels. From my standard, it's like, okay, musical theory. So like, of course, every 1632 it will build, or there's going to be other things added on to that. You need to learn about compression, tons of other different techniques and so on and so forth to make the music work or sound good. And there's a lot to that. That could be anything from working in like a mixing desk. That could be massive amounts of channels. Because when you think about mixing, we think about like, a lot of people think about like, what's the name of that mixer that's currently out right now that a lot of streamers are using? Is it XLR? XLR mixer?
I think I've heard that name a few times. XLR mixer.
Yeah.
Although I'm not an audio or a DJ or a production guy, so that's kind of. But I think I've heard that name a few times.
A normal person, some person would look at that mixer and say that, look at that, and think of that on a very basic concept.
Okay.
It's so much more to that. It's so much more, and it's so much to it because like it goes so many different aspects. Like for me, I've done stuff like worked in a professional studio, and I've also put stuff into video games.
Oh wow!
Some of them are still on Steam's. Some of them are still on Steam to this day under my real name, but that's not going to be said. So
I don't blame you. You don't have to share.
Wait a minute. The way he makes it sound, we don't want to know his name, but it sounds like he goes, "My mom named me Funny." If you get my drift.
Nothing like that at all. I've got a weird last name.
Okay. I just don't. I just want to make sure, you know.
But yeah, there's so many different aspects to it, and it doesn't help that I'm also haven't slept for nearly 24 hours, so I'm a little bit hazy.
It's okay.
Holy shit! Fuck!
Yeah,
Want some of my coffee? I'll give it to you.
Nah, I don't think that's going to work with my brain.
Oh,
What
okay.
I've got left anyway.
Okay. God. Last time I helped somebody out, their brain's jello. I don't want coffee; it just makes it worse.
Yeah. Because some people would think about, like, most people would automatically think about working in a professional studio.
Yeah.
Like going into a studio, and they would think about it that way. And that's not going into very intricate aspects. You know, as I said, I do apologize for that. But most people would think of that first. In VRchat, they would look at it a little bit differently because they don't think that there's people in here that do that as a job or have done that as a job.
Yeah.
Or have like the done professional production work like Muzz or Billen or whoever else. There's tons of other people, Two-Tone as well. So they wouldn't even think about people that in VRchat who do that. Let alone some people who come into VRchat and don't even know how the DJs do their stuff, which is. I would have thought they would have at least known what Twitch was in some ways, but I think they're more curious about how is there so much low latency between DJ pressing play and it coming into the world, which is through VRCDN. I love that. I love that group of people, by the way.
VRCDN. Yeah,
Crazy
we've had a pleasure talking with Jazzy Senpai, and when I very much agree after that interview. It sounds like Jazzy did a whole lot for the DJ scene. And from some of the people we've talked with and DJs in the club scene, VRCDN is one of the things they mentioned, and almost all of them, one way or the other.
Yeah, definitely. It's just amazing. Because I never thought I'd keep on bumping into people that share my passion for music or what I do. Because I'm a very passionate person when it comes to what I love, right? I can't help that. I'm sort of the type of guy I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to me being creative. So like it's always amazing to see everyone's growth, because I've seen people who've like come in here who need a bit of a push, who are now like producing albums that have been on like some labels or been on other stuff. I've seen people who never done production work get into production work after me nudging them along the path a little bit. And that's amazing to see. And then there's some people who are never going to need my advice ever. But it's always good just to see them grow, because I'm going to be very honest. There's some people who come in here and they look at VR a little bit differently than what they would do professionally, which is fine. It's supposed to be that way, right?
Yeah.
But there's some people in here I would be goddamn shocked if they don't make it out in the wider world. I would legitimately, in my professional opinion, be shocked, because there's so much raw talent that comes through this scene. so much raw talent. And some of these people, yeah, they go for their own creative aspects and they get on different labels or they produce different types of music from each other. But that's what I'd like to see. I want to see more of that creative push.
Well,
without limiting factors, because sometimes when you can be creative, you're always going to be sort of biased to your own opinions on your music.
Oh, of course.
You could put 20 hours into something and still think it's trash, but then a person can hear it and goddamn, this is the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that aspect of the VRChat club scene is going to go anytime soon. Like, from all the conversations we've had with DJs, club owners, and producers, that, I want to say the Rave pipeline on top of the VRChat pipeline, where you start in, like from VRChat, when you hop in, you'll start in, you'll get your first avatar, find full body, and then from there, you either make worlds, make avatars, find a skill. And then within the rave scene, you'll usually go make a skill, and you'll end up going to doing DJing. And from there, the rave scene, from what we've heard, is very much will encourage you. Here are these programs you should do.
Yeah.
You should try production. You should try DJing. You should try light
So
engineering. You should try.
Yeah, because there's amazing people. There's people like Silent. She's great.
Yes.
Because she does a lot of VJing IRL. There's a lot of people in here that do DJing IRL as well. There's, as I said, there's so many of us. I do it IRL as well. I sometimes go back and forth between where I live and Cardiff. Go play live. So there's always that passion to keep pushing forward, to keep on improving yourself. I think is a very big driving force. And of course, there's always going to be in any sort of creative circle, there's going to be people thinking, oh yeah, I'm not good enough. But there's always going to be someone there to say, hey, look, you're not thinking about it properly. Take these small steps and go in this direction and maybe it will work out. Or they try and, keep encouraging them for them to grow and become better. And it's just, I don't know, it's amazing because there's so many new DJs that come through the scene on a weekly basis. Some of them that I've never even heard of. And I'm like, holy crap, these people are really, really good. But they doubt themselves. And it's just like, even I'm guilty of that because I'm always going to be critical of my own thing regardless. Because I've had people argue, yeah, you're pretty good. And I'm like, no. In the grand scheme of things, I'm a gnat swimming in an ocean. Which is the best way of analogy with in here and in real life music. Because you can have all the skills. But when you go out in the wider world, you notice, oh yeah, my skills are not like a special butterfly. There's thousands of other people who've still got my same skill set.
Yeah.
Which is something in here that a lot of people don't think about. It's good to see a lot of crossover. No matter if that's with Sheltercon or Tube or Sanctum, there's some crossover because I know they've done a collaborative thing I think a couple of years ago. Might be wrong about that, but there's always that crossover, and DJs who DJ in here get to play outside in the real life experience and get that first step into experiencing DJing in real life.
One thing to add to your point, I've noticed as well about a lot of the creatives and DJs and musicians, artists here, is a lot of VRChat homegrown artists tend to want to do it for fun and not for money or fame. Versus anyone who gets into things in real life, starting off, fame, money, and stuff is what their goal is, unless they really love it. But VRChat has a unique perspective where it's got to be for fun only. I don't care if I make any money, but as long as you're having fun, I'm happy. Tends to be the attitude.
Yeah, definitely. I look at it from a weird sort of angle since I've done both. I've worked on both sides of the same coin, right? So, there's some people who come in here with the wrong mindset. Oh, I want to make money. Okay, that's fine, but you might not find the amount of money you're looking for in here because it's built upon passion and passion first, right? And some people build that passion. They have Patreons, which is completely fine by me. Or they use the VR token, which is completely fine by me. That's all fine, because it all goes back into the community. So that's what matters to me. Is at least any bit of money that everyone makes, it goes back into the community anyway. And that's a very important factor. Because anyone could be like what I was when I came in here and be someone who's completely new and then have their first experience and be gobsmacked as what I was. which I've still got pictures of my first show that I went into a shelter. I've actually still got photos from that time. It just stuck with me. So it's just so nice to see the overlapping thing. It's just so nice, and there's so many people in here that are massively talented. It's very nice to see. From a professional standard, it's great to see. On just a passion standard, it's good to see. It's generally just taking the steps forward, which I like seeing. Sometimes it's the journey that's the passion that makes the passion on what you do. It's not always the ending or the beginning. So you could work on an album or a record or an EP, and you could be very passionate about it. And by the time you finish, you'd be even more passionate about what you do as a musician or an artist, or as a VJ, or whatever you might do in here. Or me, who's very polite and goes up to people, hey, could you behave yourself, please? There's always going to be more passion to keep pushing things forward. Since everyone should have a good time in here. Everyone should.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me personally.
And I think since VRChat doesn't have a lot of money flowing through it right now, I don't think people should be taking it all too seriously. So like enjoying the experience you're in, enjoying what you're doing instead of like over pushing something just so it seems like a job or career, like forcing your people into meetings all the time, forcing this over professional atmosphere all the time. But to each their own, some people may enjoy that. I understand. But I think because VRChat is a game first and foremost right now, but based on how things are looking, I don't think it's going to be for long. But I think,
I mean, there has to be a sort of level of professionalism. When you do stuff for clubs, you have to be a professional to a certain extent. That's why usually I'm very polite.
Oh yeah.
And I usually speak to people. I'm like, hey, look, can calm down a little bit. I know you're having fun. That's fine. Just chill a little bit. And you have to have that sort of level of professionalism when you're dealing with DJs or you're dealing with artists outside of VRChat coming in here. Because there's sometimes I've seen people who they don't think about that type of stuff when I'm always thinking about, okay, I'm doing this stuff. I have to act a certain level of professionalism. I can have my professional opinion if I'm doing stuff on behalf of a club here and have my personal opinion down here. They can be completely opposite to what I think, but I still have to show that or have at least that decency. To have that sort of difference between opinions. You have to sort of separate yourself a little bit, especially if you're doing stuff for a club or running stuff for an event. No matter if it's me who does stuff for Razumu or Snowgrid or BCTO or a million of other places that I do stuff for. You always still got to have a sort of level of professionalism, and you have to sort of remember to separate the two from your professional opinion to your personal opinion. Sometimes they'll align and sometimes they won't, but you have to separate them because you can't take things personally. And I think sometimes people take stuff very personally instead of thinking about it of, okay, person's this, okay, we'll sort this out, we'll have a conversation, we'll sort it out later. Because sometimes wires get crossed. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Wires get crossed all the time. I know it's happened with me.
Yeah. Well, to human is error, so I can very much understand that. And you make a whole bunch of really good points. One of the things about the rave scene in terms of like professionalism, since Raptor and I've had the pleasure of speaking with everybody, is the amount of organization that comes out of the VRChat rave scene. Like, I remember when I first started talking with people like Bobby J or DJ Wokdago and hearing how their staff team works and how many people are involved in the production of a VRChat rave, and I was just flabbergasted that there's this many people running an event in a game. What the fuck? That was my first thoughts. Like, this is dope.
Because you'll get people who do VJing stuff, like I said, Silent and so many other people, Jerk as well, who does VJing stuff, I believe, and Iggy does VJing stuff as well. Like, there's people like Lightbulb who do a hell of a lot of stuff on the lighting, Mr. Game as well, who's another person. So I'm just thinking about them guys first, and then you get people like me who, okay, making sure everyone has an enjoyable time. If there's any issues that should arise, you'll have to deal with it. Speak to the actual DJs, make sure they're ready and all set up, and if there's any technical issues that it can be sorted on the fly. so on and so forth. There's a lot of different things that keep the machine moving, no matter what club or what organization. Because if one bit fails, it all collapses on itself. So it has to be a well-greased, oiled machine for everything to work. Because if it doesn't, there's always going to be little hiccups and little bumps down the road. It happens to everybody. It's just making sure you're a well-oiled machine. I would say is the best thing for it, especially when you're running events in here, because it could be massive. And the bigger the cap gets as well, people don't seem to realize the bigger the cap gets, sometimes there's going to be more work on the table as well. So you could have, let's say, 6 overflows. Okay, you got 6 overflows, so it isn't just the lighting that may be affecting each and every world that it's in. You got to have someone staffing them overflows for them 6 overflows.
Yes.
Because there's always going to be someone who's right, and the number grows. It's like the more bigger the numbers get, and the more people that come into this scene, or they come in and say, "Oh, I want to go here this day. Oh, I want to go to concrete this day. Oh, I want to go offshore the next day." There's always a certain amount of people, certain amount of things, and the bigger the community gets, they're going to need more staff to handle things.
Okay. I've a weird and unique question, because I've heard, like, through talking with people on and off air, some various things, but with the VRChat Rave scene, is it better to have one instance with a huge overflow or lots of overflows in terms of, like, what's viewed as good numbers?
With me, it's a bit of a weird one, because you could have one event and with max amount of people, let's say 80 people in one instance, and it could be amazing. Or you have 80 instances and the show's a bit like, So it's just like, sometimes I've walked into places that I've got about 40 people, and the event and show's been amazing, but there's only 40 people in there. So numbers are not always the thing.
Yeah.
But I do understand, like, if the more instances get filled, you can have hundreds of people in an instance. If we get 100 people cap, please VRchat. Because that's me shilling. Please Tupper, please.
Good
anyway.
Good news on that bit. There's actually word that this year we're testing a cap of 125 in very select places.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure. I don't remember what they were. I think maybe Shelter was one of them. I don't know. Probably very wrong. But there was a couple of them that were testing the 125 cap.
House Virality as well, I think, also had a massive cap. And I know there's always going to be glitches. It happens with tech stuff. There's always going to be problems. But as I said, it's the bigger the numbers get and the more people that come in, the more you're going to need staff to manage not just your main instance, but you may have to manage overflows. Which also is another nightmare sometimes in itself, where it can be a bit of it can be nightmarish, or sometimes it can be very easy. Like, I've managed overflows where it's just like, this is very easy, everyone's relaxed, everyone's having a good time, it's fine. Then you may have another instance that's, you get a lot of people who are very disruptive, who are generally, trying to cause problems or ruin people's experiences. So it depends, because you don't know what type of characters you're going to come into an instance at any given point. Of course, you get a lot of people in this community that are sort of intertwined.
Yes.
So everyone knows how other people are to a certain extent. So, like, they're fine. But when you get sometimes people who are new, who don't know, who come in, and they don't understand, and it's just like, okay, this could maybe cause an issue. It's an interesting thing, because it's like one instance or multiple overflows, depending on how big the clubbers would be. My advice: the more instances, let's say, let's use Sanctum, Shelter, let's use Loner, let's use Concrete as examples, right? So they have hundreds of people in queues. So they may have a main queue of, I think the max I've ever seen was 285 people.
Oh wow!
Trying to get into the main instance. And it's the thing is, like, I do believe, and maybe VRchat are working on this, maybe not, that they should be able to hide what is the main instance or not. Because as soon as people know that something's the main instance, they're going to jump on it. As soon as they know. It should be something where like, okay, yeah, well, we're now live and all the overflows become live at once, so people do not know which one's the overflow or not. Or which one's the overflow, which one's the main. Because usually everyone will just focus on trying to get into the main instance. Instead of actually trying to spread it out and be... Even though the queuing system and the group system is great, don't get me wrong, it's been a godsend for people like me. Especially in regards to moderation and stuff like that. But it's like making sure they add more systems in place so they can hide which one's the main instance. That's the major one. Because usually everyone will just jump on the main instance and not go to the overflows. So they could be waiting in line 2 hours, maybe more, maybe an hour. Like, not everyone's going to wait in queue for 2 hours just to get in and see one person. Not everyone's like that, so...
So why would people want to sit on the main instance versus one of the overflows? Is a certain appeal to the main instance specifically, or is that just where all the people are?
So sometimes it's like, oh, the DJ's in the main instance, so they want to be there and see the DJ. But there is like software in place. I know Slyfest has ran it before, where like DX as well has a program. I'm trying to remember. It's called Holospace, where like you would have your camera, like you got your camera now, it would take a picture of me, and if I was DJing, it would transfer my image to all the other overflow instances.
Yeah, I've heard a few different instances
stuff like that.
From DX, there's also another system as well that works like through mocap and animations, where I believe your avatar would have a certain animation set package into the avatar, and as you move around, it would send that information to the other instances as well, so that avatar view would then be moving around too.
I would say that's one of the major things, is they want to be where the DJ is, but also maybe it's like, okay, I want to be with my friends. Because I've been in that situation where it's like, okay, I want to get with my friends, they're all in this instance, I'm just going to queue up. I don't mind waiting. I'm a very patient person, so I don't mind waiting. So it's very interesting though. It's just an interesting thing because it's crazy sometimes just to see how big the overflows get as well. Because you can sometimes have the main instance packed and all the overflows having people trying to queue up for it as well. I've seen that happen, which is a crazy thing to see, but it's a good thing to see as well. I just think hiding what one's the main instance should be a major feature that should be added though, because it would stop people going, okay, yeah, this is the main instance, we all just queue up. It should be the roll of the dice. So, because the VRCDN bot was like that, and I liked that feature of the VRCDN bot where you would join it and you wouldn't know what instance you'd get in. You don't know, it's a roll of the dice.
Do people still use the VRCDN bot?
No, that's been discontinued from what I believe. I think Jazzy and the rest of the team at VRCDN have removed the bots completely, from what I'm aware.
Okay.
But I do think it's something maybe VRChat might want to look into. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're looking into it. It's very, very interesting though, because it's something I want to see how that will affect people and how they queue up for instances. I want to see that. Because it could be like, okay, everyone's just going to pile into one place. Of course, friends are going to tell their friends, hey, I'm in this instance number. And I tell the instance number, and then they get into that instance, and that's main. Because friends will tell friends anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Word of mouth is always going to spread fast. So that's still going to happen regardless. But hiding what instance is what, and maybe adding in features like they can see the DJ, it's just they're not going to be in the live instance where things are being recorded and streamed onto Twitch and everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if as those programs like Holospace or some advanced animation thing for each world, I'm sure people may have no problem going to overflows as well or seeing the shows in other instances, but there's still that appeal to like, this is where the person is as well.
Yeah. But the weird thing is sometimes overflows are just as good as mains. I've been in that situation where like the overflows has been more fun than what the main instance is. I've actually been in them situations. So it's not always carte blanche that the main instance is the place to be, because you could go into an overflow and it's just going to be a great time for everybody. So.
Okay. So I have a interesting question for you as well, since you're kind of done stuff in the real world with audio engineering. What is there any difference
Yeah.
between the two worlds, where the world of the VRChat rave scene and what goes on versus the same thing but in the real world?
There's a lot of difference from what I've seen, at least. So in VR chat, as I said, generally people do it out of passion. That's the main one. When you're doing it as a job, it's a little bit different, and things have got to be managed differently. They're like, let's say I'm doing I'm doing audio engineering work on, I don't know, a podcast. I'll use that as an example, because there is people who do audio engineering on podcasts. That's a completely separate thing. And there's going to be some things that are similar, and there's going to be maybe some skills that might be transferable, the ability to communicate. Some people are very sort of reserved. Some people communicate very well. That's like certain skills between are always going to be interchangeable anyway.
Yeah.
I do believe that the passion versus money thing is also a major one. Is a major thing. Some people will go the extra mile for passion, and they won't sometimes go the extra mile when there's money involved. Because I've seen that. Where like an artist will put like an amazing piece of work out, but like they said, okay, yeah, you've only got like, I don't know, a couple of studio sessions. But that piece of work could do with more time in the oven. While in VR chat, people would be like, okay, yeah, we'll just take our time to curate this and making sure it's the best it can be. And in some places, they're not like that. And other places in the industry, it is like that, where they will take their time and curate an amazing experience. But it's not always like that. Because there's places like The Gathering. I'll use another event that I sort of staffed for recently, like The Gathering. That was very curated, and it was the first time I'd ever tried to pull something like that off. They came up to me and I said, hey, look, we need moderation. We know that you do moderation stuff. Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. I would love to help out the community. You know, that's what I do. It was their first time, but they still pulled it off amazingly. And them sort of same skill sets that they have are easily transferable into the real life. Some of them are, at least. Not all of them, but some of them are. It's nice to see that little bit of overlap. It's not always going to be one-to-one, because, you know, I'm not going to go staff a place in real life, right? There's no way I could be a bouncer at a door in real life, considering my issues. Right?
No.
That isn't going to happen. But like, there is transferable. The ability just to speak to someone and say, hey, look, you know, could you calm down on that type of behavior? Like, you know, this isn't the place for it. Being amicable and they're willing to actually speak and have a conversation with someone. Because sometimes people jump to the wrong conclusions, right? Yeah. And they'll jump to the wrong conclusions based on the person's the first time they've met the person. Or a couple of times that they met the person, they'll jump to that wrong conclusion. Well, I'm like, I'll sit back and I'll watch and I'll just listen. And that's usually how I make up my mind. I watch and I listen a lot. I think that's, in some ways, that's a good thing, because even if you've done music professionally, sometimes you have to just sit back and listen. You can't always do something that you want to do, because it may be management or boss that you've got to go through to try and make sure you're able to do certain pieces of work, where it has to go through everything else. So there's a lot of, with some labels, a lot of politics as well that goes behind the scenes sometimes. In here, sometimes that happens, not all the time. It's usually like, a lot of it is just friends having a laugh. Like, I'll use an example, like me and a friend of mine called Halo. Halo runs Snowgrid. Halo showed me the starting steps when he was building Snowgrid. And we have this sort of friendship that we know how we are with each other, and we've been friends for a very, very long time. So, like, that's built on friendship and built on that trust that we both have with each other. And we're still got a strong friendship now.
That's awesome.
And sometimes that works better than going through sometimes the business politics crap that you have to go through. Like, when I done that, I left doing major industry stuff and I went independent before I became disabled. So, like, I was doing stuff, like I said, stuff for video games, indie games mostly. And it was like, I enjoyed being out of that environment than being in it.
Okay.
Because I could dance to the beat of my own drum. which I'm sort of like that anyway. I dance to the beat of my own drum and have my own opinions. So it's always interesting to see that. That's definitely one thing I will definitely say, that some people think, oh, the industry's it and the industry's this, and it's gonna be this way. It's not always that black and white. The industry is not perfect and it does have issues. But so you could say the exact same about VR chat and some of the people in the community. Like, some people are going to have their issues. Some people are never going to see eye to eye.
Oh, of course.
But we all have to be civil and get along with each other, because all of us want to be creative and push the scene forward. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I like in here. That's something that doesn't really happen so much in the industry from what I've seen in my time in it. Than in here. Because there's a lot of interchangeable politics crap that goes on behind the scenes, and it's very annoying sometimes, because sometimes it could be the lowest people on the audio totem pole that get treated the worst. So
yeah, I can imagine if you're in the industry, an upcoming artist, and if you're being treated poorly as the new guy, versus here, I think a lot of people encourage the new guy. Like I've every conversation I've had, I have rarely ever heard, actually I've never heard anyone say, fuck the new guy. In fact, I've heard the opposite, where I want to help the new guy. I want to make sure they have all the right technology. Some people have shared with me they've given them their old DJ decks. Some people have told me they've showed them to the free DJ stuff software online. I've heard so many different variations of that story here.
With me, it's like, okay, they'll come up and say, hey, look, I'm looking for certain types of jungle. And I'm like, okay, I can find that out. So I put them all in a direction where they can download a load of free music. You can use that for DJing while you're starting. Or you say, okay, I don't know how to DJ, how do I start? I point them in the direction. Like, okay, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. You can try this, and this. This will help. And even people like Aliquim's very recently became a DJ, and she's great as well. She's becoming a good DJ in her own right. So, like, it's good to see that creative spark and that creativeness to push people forward. Sometimes in the industry, I sort of felt personally like I had no ability to be treated sometimes fairly. So when I left it and done independent stuff, it was always more fun.
Okay.
Always more fun. I had so much of a better time being out of it, which is weird. But I think that sort of goes into my personality, like I said, dancing to the beat of my own drum. So,
well, even that the case as an independent, you also have the first and final say in whatever happens, versus like if you're in a company in a corporate atmosphere, you have this grand, fantastic idea, but if the dude up top says no, well, that's it.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah,
but
basically. And even being independent, there's contract stuff even when being independent. Like being stuff with me, like when I've done stuff with video games, I've had to sign contracts. So okay, this is going to be done by the estate, and this has to be done. But like, it still gives you more wiggle room than what it would be in a corporate situation. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no.
Apologize.
No, it's A-okay. I very much understand and appreciate the insight. I'm one of those people who always appreciates independence versus corporate atmosphere. That's just me as a person. I can't tell you why, but I like seeing people work on their own and build something with their own two hands versus a giant machine. But then again, I also see the appeal of a machine too. But yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like we've had the conversation before about AI.
Yeah.
And using AI as a tool versus not. And my thing is like only using it as a tool if there's human interaction with it. Which is like one of the strong points I have, and not stealing other people's work, which is another thing that came up recently. And I posted up on Twitter and said, well, knew this was going to happen. Like straight away, I knew.
Well,
using it as a tool is perfectly fine as long as it's human interaction, that you're still controlling that tool.
Yeah.
Doing it without taking any it being a thing, so okay, yeah, you've got this bar, this loop, yeah, we'll just chop up the breaks, blah 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 blah, and put it here, and it does it all for you. Where's the human element? It takes away from that.
Well, I think in the conversation that no one will ever see, I did make a point that I'm going to remake now, is even with AI advancing and all the new tools you could do with it and all the new fancy things, people still have that human element they want. Because when you listen to, like, if you go to suno.ai and you make yourself an AI song, like in one of the ads we released in on Twitter for PJKT, we did an ad where a car drives up and you hear music play, and it was an AI made music. But when you listen to it, it sounds soulless. But when a human makes a song, it doesn't sound soulless. And there's always that appeal for that, regardless of how advanced it gets. And there's even word now that AI is going to be able to make 3D models through Meta.
Yeah.
So in time, regardless of whatever field it enters, there's still the appeal for the human-made thing versus the machine-made thing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's like a major thing that sort of like grinds my gears. People go, oh yeah, AI music, we don't need artists anymore. And I'm sort of sitting here thinking, you do that and you do understand that artists will still be independent and do their own thing, right? People will go independent. If they don't do it off the major labels, they'll go independent and do it off their own backs. I've seen that so many times. I've seen some amazing artists who have, let's say, amazing vocals, and they've been treated like crap by the industry, and then they go independent. And by the time they're doing really well independently, then the labels start sniffing again. It's just, and it's exactly the same with the tools as well. If they're going to try and push out artists, okay, I want to make an AI artist, let's say, right, and they're going to push out artists. Artists are still going to survive off their own back without the machine. There's plenty of people that have done that over the years. Plenty. And a lot of like music that we listen to now started from independence. It's fierce independence. Especially like if you look at UK and the music that comes out of the UK, fiercely independent when it started up with a lot of stuff. The matter of UK garage, or you listen to drum and bass and jungle, or or the elements of dancehall and reggae culture that are inside the UK music scene. Like all these things like matter because the human element of independence is still there. If you take that out and you make something that's soulless, and I know it's something that's soulless, I'm just like, I'm not going to vibe with this. Like, even now, when people make music and it doesn't feel like it has a soul to me, I'm like looking at it and going, yeah, I don't feel this. There's something off with it.
Yeah.
And you can sense it.
The cookie cutter stuff where I want to be like a person tends to be soulless. Like when they're trying to copy someone else, because it's not their own work. You don't hear them in it. You hear what remnants of the other person.
There's nothing wrong in being inspired by a person.
No.
And using that to build off your own stuff. There's nothing wrong in that. But if you're copying a cookie cutter 1-to-1, then it becomes boring. Like, not every single artist is going to be the same 1-to-1. No way. I know in the grand scheme of things, especially when it comes into music, as I said, I'm a gnat swimming in an ocean. I'm nothing special.
Yeah.
But then there's some that have got massive more talent than what I have, even in this scene, more talent than what I will ever have. And that's the stuff that matters, is pushing that forward. And that's something that I've always been about, is pushing the creativeness forward. Because I know you've interviewed Chev and the guys from Dieselworks. Shout out to Dieselworks, by the way.
Fantastic group of guys.
Like their world that they've done. When I first went there, my jaw hit the floor again, and I was like, Jesus Christ! And I contacted Melon, and I said, Melon, you got inspired by the downtrodden industrial London areas, didn't you? He goes, yeah. I got because he was going through all the work with that and pictures and stuff. And it was great. And that stuff amazes me, that people can get inspired by something so small, but it grows out to be so massive. And I'm very much happy for the guys at Dieselworks or any of the clubs and communities that still want to be creative and push that forward. That's something that really does matter to me personally, is them pushing their creativity forward. No matter if it's in music, art, or them them making avatars, them making VJ stuff with loops, so on and so forth. I want to see them people keep pushing forward towards what they want to do creatively, because that matters.
I wonder, I wonder and hope that as like the VRChat grows, as you can see, VRChat's trying to push itself to be a bigger entity, and in turn, everything in it is going to grow too, like the VRChat rave scene. Like the world builders will probably eventually have people reach out to them for contracts and stuff. But I hope VRChat's soul, in terms of like its wanting to push artists and create, doesn't go away. Because I have a feeling that as it gets bigger, it may. I hope it doesn't change too much.
I don't think it will, and the reason why like I can sort of say that is, regardless if they don't push it or not, the underground scene will push it. That's the thing. Like that's the thing. People, even if like people are like, oh yeah, VRChat not going to promote this, and that's fine. VRChat don't have to promote everything. It's impossible to promote everything on VRChat anyway.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's an impossible task. So like, the scene will push it. We'll push the people forward who deserve the spotlight. Like I can name some people right now. Like I mentioned a lot of the clubs already, but it's people like Clyde Machine and Bob Brandon who run Offshore, which is an amazing club that's built on an oil rig world. And it's a DJ event. And it's great because it's a unique concept. Right? It isn't a building. It's on a rusty old oil rig that should be falling into the sea. You know, it's a unique concept. Not everything has to be like a dingy back alley club. Not everything has to be that way. Even though there's nothing wrong with it, not everyone has to be. To create something, spectacular. Do a spaceship, DJ on a spaceship. I've done that before. You know,
Presumu does that too.
Yeah. Or DJ on a boat. Like I've done that as well.
Oh, wow.
It's just the creativity of doing certain things is here. There's a lot of stuff you can do here that you couldn't do, let's say, out in the real world. Yeah. I don't think NASA are going to lend a rocket ship to a bunch of DJs just to DJ in.
No. Well, funny thing you mentioned
come on. Why not? Just shove their asses in there and launch their ass up and tell them, jam it out, let's go. I don't know if anybody'd hear it after all the sound of the rockets, but hey, at least they got a good beat when they went up, right?
Funny thing you mentioned that for VR. I was world hopping, and I found, in the world hop, I found a really unique club world. It was on a bunch of asteroids. I wish I remembered the name of the place. I'm sorry, guys, if you're listening to this. But
Is it Rift?
Probably.
Is it Rift?
Yeah, Rift. It was the coolest world I've ever seen. Like a club on a bunch of asteroids.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Aztec and all them guys. They're an amazing group as well. Like, they're another group of inside the community that.
I'd like to know what the one was. No, you're fine. The one that was a ship and everything else like this, and they had a Kraken over it, over the side of it, and it had a DJ booth set up into it, and they had buildings that were all tore up along the side. You started on one ship, you ended up going to the other one.
That could have been Sly Fest, maybe.
It might have been. Oh man, that place, it's so fucking cool. I think I spent fucking 2 days in there trying to make sure I got to see everything because there was so much little detail and everything. It was just unreal.
Yeah. And it's amazing to see that sort of creativity because, like, people say, okay, well, we can DJ a rave in the Paris catacombs in here. You wouldn't do it in real life because it's bloody dangerous. But we can do it in here and be perfectly safe.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, and it's nice to see that sort of creativity because, like I said, not everything has to be like based on a real club.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the type of stuff and types of things that I like to see. I like to see people push boundaries a little. And it's just, that type of thing is something that the real life scene is never going to catch up upon. I don't think they can get close, but they'll never touch the real essence of it. I don't think. As I said, I don't think NASA's going to lend us rockets anytime soon. I don't think we're going to be able to, DJ on a bunch of asteroids with no suit anytime soon. So,
Yeah, I'm very, even to this day, I may not be a big rave guy, but I'm always impressed with a lot of the things that you could see or find from the rave scene. especially with all the people working and producing and creating different tools and stuff over there. You'll still see a lot of stuff flood out, and I'm always impressed by seeing all of it. Like whether it's shader work specifically for lights or something like that, I find it neat. I can just hear people talk about that shit all day. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Light bulb, but best person to speak to, light bulb's one of them. Like light bulb and his work and what he's done is just it shocks me. Definitely, it's just this, and there's people like Gross as well. Gross is another one. Avatar creator, has done their own avatar work, does worlds. An amazing person. There's also Star Party, which I know, Lion, that you came to when I was staffing there. Like Star Party is another one, which is like that's Sushi's place, which I staff at, which is like basically a very simple place, very chill music, and you're just looking up at the stars. Little camp spaces around, nothing like super amazing, but the essence is there. Of course, we can all do that. We can go sit in a campfire and do that. And there is like wireless DJ controllers that we can do that with Bluetooth speakers and everything else. But that essence is just a thing that we don't see often. It needs to happen more, personally.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm sure everyone has.
Sorry.
I'm sure someone will repeat and do it. Though I'm sure also as well, VRChat does have that unique way of being able to do or build what your imagination wants to. So I'm sure some people have this other wild adventure they want to take people on too.
Yeah, definitely. It's just sort of shocking thinking about sometimes all the creators in this space, regardless of what they do. I'm sometimes still shocked to this day of Kai's work. Or Jerk's work, or Melon, or all the other guys' work. I'm just sitting, I was like, Jesus Christ. Thanks for making me feel inept, guys. Cheers.
Well, I want to give the world builders like Kai and all of them as a shout out here. Without you guys, it wouldn't be a VRChat. Building worlds, creating games, doing all this stuff. Without you guys, there'd be nothing here for us to visit but the VRChat homeworld. So with that said, thank you guys for keep on being amazing people. All right, I'm done.
Definitely. No, nothing wrong in that. I think I've been shilling all the clubs all days. But it's amazing because also there's the differentials in the scene as well. You get the US side of the scene, you get the European side, and then you get the JP side of the community. Or Asian side of the community, which is amazing as well because you get people like Rukamori who does Echo, and that place is also amazing. And then you get Ghost Club as well, that's very well known. And there's tons and tons. Obviously the Outside as well, which is Other Moon, who also runs their own music label.
Oh wow!
Called Other Man Records, which all the music there is free to download.
Oh wow!
Recommendation if you like breakcore, by the way. Just saying.
Well, I know where I'm going.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's just amazing to see that there's all this differential, but it's all built upon that passion. Because it's all different sides. They've all got their own different things, and some people don't play certain things in certain regions. And sometimes they do, and it's just like it's nice to see that. There's always something new to see and something to grow from.
Yeah. In a lot of the conversations we've had, that's something I've also noticed is said to us that I think may be a little different from the real world. Where the real world, if you're to go DJ clubs and stuff, they want to hear a specific sound, a specific genre, have a specific flow. Where VRChat, more than likely, you're going to hear genres you probably have never heard of before because someone may be hyper fixated on it, or they allow whichever here as well. Depending where you are.
Definitely. Yeah, of course, definitely. It's just amazing to me. It's just, as I said, because of my age, I'm not massively old, but it's just amazing to see that sort of new generation of artists come along and keep pushing them boundaries.
Well,
I almost said it.
Say it, Raptor.
Almost said it, folks. Okay. If you look at his avatar, folks, really, really close, how old do you think the devil might be? And he's not old.
I let people jump to
There's a
their own
point.
conclusions because it's an easier life.
Or way out, one or the other, and go, God damn, I should have had a hot tea later. Yeah, I got you. I should have never went there. Yeah, I got you.
I let people jump to their own conclusions because it's an easier life that way, right? Better to do that. Because sometimes people don't always want to have an adult conversation about stuff, so it's easy just to let them jump to their own conclusions.
Fair.
And if that's the case, I'm screwed because I jumped to conclusions and opened my big mouth and then stare both feet.
Raptor, we all do. It's called being human. How many times have we all done it in our lives? We all have. Let's be real.
Problem is, I don't know what human is. I just don't know.
Well,
at this age, if I don't know what. What?
There's a pretty good speech.
Don't answer that, goddammit. You're gonna go. You're gonna go.
No, I'm not gonna give you shit. I was actually gonna give you a speech. A little bit of a speech to look into. There's a famous speech done by a pope that is, to human is to err, to forgive divine. Even if you were to say something stupid, people are gonna make errors and problems because that's just human nature. You can't be perfect all the time. It's nigh impossible.
Well, I know that. You think I've got this far for being perfect? No, just a little bit of fucking being crazy, folks. You have to let that out of the bag once in a while. My case, I let too much about it, and you just go, "Oh shit, there goes the balloon." Crap.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, if you want to see
I'll
a
pick
fun
it up
time,
later.
you should find Raptor in the morning during coffee. It is the funniest thing you'll ever see.
Like I am now. Like I am now. It's morning, having my coffee, and shit's just rolling off the tongue.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with just being blunt and being yourself, because I'm very blunt at times. So,
well, my problem is people look at me going, "Where do you come up with this shit?" I just feed off of everybody else's vibe. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just go with it. Problem is, what's sad? Here's one for you, folks. Can you believe that I used to be a quiet kid? Yeah.
Bullshit.
I was when I was in school. I was a quiet kid and everything else. My dad had to literally work me over a little bit to get me to speak up because I wouldn't say enough to speak out there. And he didn't work me over and beating me or anything like this, but he just kept pushing me and yelling a little louder. And sometimes that's where all of a sudden it's out of the bag now. Like I said, it's like letting the air out of a balloon. You know, you can let out as much as you want, or you can let go of the balloon and watch it fly, and everybody gets a little bit more air of what you just put in it. Yes, if you can look at it that way. So,
yeah.
So, through all the time you've been in VR, what have been some of your more favorite instances or memories from the scene?
Oh God, I've got a few. Oh shit!
I've got a few. Let them flow. Let's go.
Okay, so there's a picture of where I used the Wojak They Don't Know meme avatar, and I was sat in the corner of Razumo, and that got put all over Reddit during New Year's. So you can hear people coming in through New Year's drunk, and I have that meme, and I'm just thinking, yeah, it is just perfectly the life. Just sit in the corner and just watch. So, you know, that's just a funny moment because it isn't exactly a club moment, but it was in a club. It was just that's how I feel.
I gotcha.
There's been so many. God, it goes into details. Okay, let me just think here. A few other ones off the top of my head. When Billen played Shelter with Gravekeeper, he's another friend of mine. Them two absolutely goddamn killed it. I think Grey Mage was on that lineup as well, and they absolutely killed it. That was New Year's. God, there's been other Slyfest, definitely. The Gathering was another one. There's been BCTOs. There's been back-to-backs with me and Woodgraves, with Giga and a synthesizer. That was a 2-hour set. I think we done like an hour each for each one of ours. Me and Woodgraves. And Woodgraves does a lot of breakcore, a lot of jungle stuff. The dude's an amazing dude. Another good moment is like seeing Halo not give up on his work, because Halo was at one point thinking of scrapping Snow Grid, and I'm happy he went to completion for it. The Snow Grid does stand out, and it's an amazing spot. Recommendation for anyone to go there, by the way. You'll see me there more than likely, but recommendation, because it's the vibe of that place is so unique. It's its own type of beast, which is nice to say that. What other ones? Delhi's, like I said before, when I first met Paul and Turtle Dome. That's a good memory. Because without them two, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing now. Guys, if I'm DJing in real life or not, or thinking about getting back into music production after all these years, just doing it at a much slower pace because of the disabilities. So, like, without them two, and without Grave as well, and Gloomstone, I wouldn't think about getting back into production work at all, because they all sort of nudged me. They all nudged me forward, like I nudge other people forward. So, without them, you know, that's a memory I'm going to cherish. Big thanks to all of them.
Would you mind? Sorry to interrupt you, but would you mind expanding on that story a little bit? Because I'd love to hear how they had you come back into the scene.
So, okay. So with Paul, I'll start off with Paul and Turtle Dome first, because as I said, they wanted me to come in as a DJ to begin with, because I knew a lot about music. I spoke about a lot of different production stuff. I can't remember precisely what I'd come out and said, but a lot of different stuff like that. And Paul goes, you should think about DJing. I was like, there's no way. Like, you know, how my disability is, there's no way I'll be able to do it properly. And I've done my own research. It took me months, but I'd done my own research and I came in and started DJing. I still think I'm awful, even though people are going to argue in the comments and tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. It's all right to have the wrong opinion. So it's them two with Gravekeeper, Gloomstone, Sin, and many others. It's been like they know that my passion for music runs very deep, and it was just like, dude, you can do it. If we can do it, you can do it. I'm sort of sitting here humming and ahhing because I've got to do extra research on top of all this, because, you know, accessibility is a major factor for me. So like I'm sort of on the verge of like still researching it, and I'm just going to slowly start working on my own original music again. I don't know when that's going to be out. I have no clue. But like I am slowly getting the wheels to turn again slowly. They're very rusty, but they're starting to turn again slowly. It'll just take time. But they sort of nudged me and said, look, you can do it. You can do this. You know, there's been people like Billen as well, who's been like, as soon as you do anything, send it my way. I'd like to listen. Like, I'm like, Bill, goddamn, like, Bill, like, it's just like, Jesus Christ. And there's been other people in this scene who run labels and other stuff like that. I've been like, look, you know what you're doing. You're not stupid. Well, they think I'm not stupid. I personally think I'm stupid. You know what you're doing. Just take your time. You'll get there. And that's sort of where I'm at right now. And I'm sort of in like the starting creative phase of, what do I want this to be? What type of music do I want to bring to the forefront that represents me as a person and my own thoughts and feelings? Because I usually base, like, when I used to do production work, I used to think like that, especially if I was doing stuff for myself, or I'm doing stuff for a client through like a game or something like that. I would think about, what does the client exactly want? How can I make this and still make my own little twist on it? You get exactly what they want. Especially with some types of electronic music. Let's use jungle as an example. Jungle has a crap ton of samples. everything from horror movies to what's his thing? I'm trying to remember the guy's name now. Stephen. Oh, he's a martial arts actor. Seagal.
Ah, yes.
Even some of his samples from some of his films I chucked into some jungle tracks because it was basically built upon that whole genre was built upon samples. Taking little things, no matter if it was just a little break or an almond break inside of a song, or a think break, or so on and so forth. So little parts, and that's how that whole thing sort of grew over time. Adding different parts of elements in, which is like something I always think about when I do music. Okay, what can I add and have my own spin to make it my own? Because every artist is going to be like that. Everyone's going to have their own sort of spin on things, on how they want their own sound to be. Some people want it aggressive and in their face. Some people want it subtle. So it's sort of type of music that creeps up on you and grows on you over time. It just depends artist from artist, genre to genre. And me, since I'm sort of like multifaceted, I'm sort of like stuck between a rock and a hard place thinking, okay, there's all these genres, which one do you want to do? Because one thing about me doing music was, especially as a kid, I couldn't stick to one forever. I would always try and be diverse and try different stuff. So, no matter if that was me playing bass and being a metalhead and playing bass guitar, or to me, like, you know, doing piano work for classical music. I have to constantly be doing stuff. Different types of stuff. I can't keep in the same category for too long. Though, truth be told, though, I have stuck to jungle for a very long time. Should really change that sometime soon, because I've been stuck on that road for way too long. It's worse than the M1.
Well, if you like jungle that much, I know of another DJ that may be more down your line who also produces music is Anais. He's huge into jungle. And he DJs and produces music and have been for a very long time.
Yeah. Like, I was sort of brought up on that music because of my brother. Because he had this tape called Jungle Mania, which was like this little tape that he used to get, which had multiple different artists on it. And I think the tape came out in 94. So that's going to show my age.
That's going to show your age?
A little bit. At
least you didn't say 49. Then you're going, my God, man, you're doing good.
But yeah, like it's that sort of influenced me a lot as well to get into jungle, especially within here. It was just like, okay, so there's certain artists I sort of gravitate to because of certain styles that they do. No matter if it's the classical type of jungle, which is raga jungle, which has reggae elements, dancehall elements, or if I want something that's more atmospheric, ambient type of jungle, which is very low key, but it grows on you over time with its soundscaping that it has. Or if I wanted this could be a complete madman, just fill it full of breaks. Which some people will say, yeah, that's breakcore. No, it's not. Jungle is not breakcore. I will fight a man in the middle of the street if they say that. As a joke, I mean that jokingly. It's that's the thing. It's just always trying and just thinking about certain things when pushing a sort of musical example together. It's interesting to think about because you can think about like the music you listen to, and then you can think about, okay, so if I like this type of style of music, what else is similar to it that I would like? And that's sort of how, as a kid, how I sort of like grew. No matter if I was listening to Michael Jackson or listening to Phil Collins or Led Zeppelin, it was just like everything's sort of similar in one way or another. So I sort of like grew on it. It sort of, as I said, it made me more of a diverse monster in regards to music, especially when I was like a kid. So,
well,
I think that's still stuck with me a bit.
Well, given all the things you do, I'm sure all of that different experiences also helps as well, especially with the different clubs you staff, all the different DJs and people you interact with. I'm sure that knowledge base is a really good thing to tap into.
Oh, it is. Especially when people come to me and ask me about musical stuff. It's just like, okay, I want this style of music. Okay. How old are we talking? Oh, you want something from the 90s? Okay, let me just pull something back from the 90s. Let's use UK Apache and Shy FX, and use that as an example. So it's a very interesting thing generally. So,
okay.
There's always little things I'll find. I'll point people in a direction and go, hey, you might want to think about this. Or you may want to look here. Because like, it's kind of when people search for music, sometimes they stick in one place. And with me, I'm just like, no, look everywhere. If you like certain styles of music, it doesn't matter to me if you just like Bandcamp. Go look on Juno Download, Track Source. These thousands of different places that are digital, do music digitally or physically if you like vinyl, which I recommend people should pick up vinyl, by the way. It's great. It's one of them things. It's great to see that or point people in that direction and let them grow in their own way. Because I think sometimes, especially when you're dealing with younger artists, some people can sometimes, at least in the real world, from what I've seen, can be very overbearing of what they want something to sound like. Not knowing that, like, some of the best music that we've all listened to has been just out of experimentation.
Oh yeah, most things in life that are the most enjoyable are never planned.
Yeah, definitely. Or it's been like, can I chuck this in here and make it sound weird? Let's see.
Very true.
Indeed.
So
I have another funny question now that you've mentioned younger artists like brought up. For all the different people and artists you've worked with, is there any difference between the people that are homegrown here in VR, or the producers or DJs versus their real life counterparts who only done it there? Like a personality,
some ways, yeah.
Or whatever.
So in some ways, yeah, because I think a lot of people in here who do a lot of stuff real life, they do it just mostly because of passion, mostly. It goes on to the passion thing from what I've seen. Not all of them are like that though. There's some people in here who DJ'd IRL first before coming in here. And they do it out of passion also. But they look at it in a different sort of view.
Okay.
If you sort of understand, a little bit differently. It's great to see that contrast though. Especially when like you see like younger artists who go out and say, okay, yeah, I want to DJ IRL now in real life.
Yeah.
And you see them just grow. And you see them constantly growing, no matter if it's in their production work or them DJing in real life or even creatively. It's one of them things where the more you see it, the more happier, more creative stuff comes into this scene. Because they think, okay, I've got the real life, DJing in real life bug now. I want to do that more, but I want to bring elements from real life, in the real life DJing community into here. Which there is people like Anti-Corpse and, that's another organisation, European organisation, who brought a lot of real life DJs into VRchat and VR DJs into the real life scene. And it sort of blended the two. Which was it was nice to see. I'm not too sure if that's still gonna come. I think it was Antic. It was Antic. It was Antic who ran that. Which was it was amazing to see that. Because it sort of blended the two. I'm not too sure if that's still gonna happen again. I don't know. Hopefully it does. Because it's a good experience for both sides. You see both sides of the coin then.
Yeah.
Which is a unique perspective.
In terms of people that at least I've met that do that as well, Shelter and 2TD does that with ShelterCon, pulling people from VR into the real world. Yeah,
definitely. I know with me, it's just like as I help them out when they need help, basically. So it's good to see that as well. And I know all them guys, or a lot of them guys who end up on lineups. I know all of them. Honestly. So people like Indent and Grave Keeper or Grey Mage or, tons of others, Melon, Chevette, Clyde Machine, Bot Brandon. And it's good to see that as well because it's people like Clyde Machine who has real life experience, musical experience, but also has experience in here. And he looks at it sort of the same way as me. It's sort of passion built and it's passion driven. So.
Sorry, I asked you the question, the difference between the two. I'm just kind of curious as to how VR grown artists would differ from real life grown artists. If there's any like,
Oh, okay.
I'm
mean,
not trying to re-gauge you. I just ask that of most people I pull on, whether they're a VR DJ, whether they run clubs, or maybe even they do music and avatars and worlds, and they've seen both sides of the coin. I'm just curious to how the people here differ from the people over there, because that's one of the things that very much interests me. Like people who've only done things here, and then eventually.
Sometimes it's mindset, I think, or sometimes they think, okay, yeah, it's about being paid. There's a lot of DJs in the real life scene that think, okay, it's just about being paid. It's about making a good experience for people, because I've seen that. We've all gone into a club in a real life where DJs had a bad set. We've all been there, right? We've gone into a club and the DJ's like, okay, yeah, this isn't really my vibe. And some DJs just do that and do it just for the money, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to criticize that. On the VR side, when they go into the IRL scene, there's a lot more passion that drives them. That's something from what I've seen, from my perspective.
Okay.
I do think there's still passionate people IRL as well who come in here, because there's a lot of people who do. People like Billen, who has done amazing stuff, even done stuff with Noisia, who comes into here. And the dude's amazing. He's the most down-to-earth. Well, there's quite a few of these people who are the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. Like, all they want to do is see people grow, and they want to see them create, and they want to share their experiences of what they create. There is that sort of like type where there's some people, I said Ben as an example, because he's the odd man example, I like to call him, where his passion is just there. There's a lot of people IRL, like I said, who just do it and it's like, oh yeah, I don't care. And they do it, and the creative spark's not there anymore. And when you get a lot of people in here where the spark is burning brighter than ever. So they're always trying different things. They're always learning different techniques. Always ways of growing. So when they do transfer IRL, it stands out. So people keep an eye on that stuff. So people like Woodgraves, because he played live in Chicago. I'm trying to remember when he played live in Chicago, but he played live in Chicago. Dude's one of the most passionate dudes in here. He may act like he's very reserved, but he's one of the most passionate dudes in here. Like, legitimately, it runs deep. He's riddled with it, sort of like myself. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like that when the passion runs deep, like really deep. It's an interesting thing just to see, though. Because you get some people, as a Billen as an example, you get Woodgraves as an example, who's built upon just passion, goes to the IRL, and it's just like his passion stands. From what I got told by people who were there, his passion stood out for what he'd done. Even though he had to do everything on the fly, because for some reason, some of the tracks weren't being loaded properly, I think, from what I remember. He had to borrow a laptop, from what I remember. I may be wrong about that. But, like, his passion stands out because he still wanted to do it regardless of any errors that might happen. Some people may be deflated in the IRL scene if technical issues happen that is outside of their own control. Because tech issues happen. Doesn't matter if it's in VR or outside. It's just how you manage them that makes the artist the way it is. It's just like, okay, this is broken. Okay, how can I fix this? Is there any way I can do this right now so I can get this set going forward? Which is it's an interesting thing to say, and it's nice seeing it, because as I said, there's a lot of people who come through who, because I'm pretty sure, because there's one or two I've noticed that I used to formerly work with, who have come through here and looked here and been like shocked, like I was, like they're like a deer staring into a headlight, because they're shocked about the passion these people have for what they do in here. And yeah, a lot of these artists could become something bigger and become the next generation of big artists. Time will tell. I hope so. Because there's so many people in here who deserve it.
Well, I do say...
That answers your question. I know that's a roundabout,
that is a perfect way of
apologize.
answering it. I'm sure it also helps with all the passion that's coming out of VR chat, whether it's the rave scene or world builders, is people who know what they're doing, encouraging and helping those who are just starting out. Because it's one thing I've heard word of everywhere is there's lots of people whom you wouldn't expect to be in a game like this, who are very well known, who are just amongst the rest of us here in VRChat as a random VRChat username. And I've heard some words of people like that you may never know. It's like, oh hey, you should try this thing. Here's where you start, and then disappear off into the loading screen you'll never see again. But encourage someone to be like a world builder or a DJ, a producer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's amazing. It is just amazing because it gives me the tiniest little bit of a nudge, and then they're off on the races. They're gone. You know, and they do amazing stuff. And my whole thing is to keep that passion pushing forward. There's always going to be rough times. It happens with everything. No matter what platform, what game, what music genre you might like or dislike, what software you might use, and there's always going to be rough times and there's always going to be good times. But it's about keeping that passion and that energy alive. And make sure you keep pushing it forward. That's a major thing.
Well, I will say I hope that aspect of all the people here in VR never change. It's amazing to hear all the stories I've heard from people of being encouraged by others. It's a very heartwarming thing to hear, especially like a person such as yourself or a DJ that we've talked to. It's like, oh, hey, I've talked to this specific person over at this specific club who said something that got me started, and now I can't stop. It's an addiction. It's a very heartwarming thing to hear to come out of the scene.
Yeah. Because it only takes like the tiniest little bit nudge for a person to move forward. So my attitude was that goodwill that was put towards me, I do for others. You know, you don't know where to look for music. Okay, let me help you. Go here. Let me download it and send you the files. Here you go. It's free to download. Completely legal. Here you go. Oh, I don't know. I can't run this software properly. Something's wrong with it. Okay, click this button, click here, click there. Job done. Sorted. No, little things like that. Or it could be just advice, general advice, like general life advice, which I've also given to people in here as well. It could be it's better to always be the positive nudge than to be the person going, not my problem. It's better to be the one that's pushing the positive nudge forward. And that's the thing. It's the little pokes in the right direction that matter more than a person going, it's not my problem. Well, because doing that is no use to anyone. It doesn't do anything except cause dead air. So...
Well, sometimes even with little nudges, positive nudges, sometimes you don't even do a whole lot to mean so much to someone. You could buy someone a coffee that couldn't afford it one day. Maybe you're in a Dunkin' Donuts or a cafe line. Person doesn't have cash on them. You just pay for the coffee, and for all you know, they've had a shitty day at work. That's their boss's coffee. They didn't have the money, and the next thing you know, because you bought it, you made them a lot of a happier person because of it. It doesn't take much a lot of the time.
Yeah. It doesn't take much not to be a jackass.
Yeah, no.
So
it's free to not be an asshole.
Basically, to meme this up, it's free real estate. Yes, I did just do that, Raptor. Don't look at me like that. Right?
Oh, wow. Breathe. Okay, yeah.
Oh, it is true. It's not hard not to be a jackass. It takes more energy to put negativity out than what it does positivity.
Oh, yeah, I know that. It's just getting the real estate in the right place and have the asshole fucking sell you the shit fucking property. Well, yeah, I know where you're going with it.
Well, it takes far less muscles to smile than it does to frown.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm British, so like miserable.
Unless you shit your pants. Unless you shit your pants.
Those are different set of muscles.
Wrong one. Okay, my bad.
Raptor. I'm from the UK. Miserable and being happy go hand in hand. Okay.
Oh wow! You get that all in one candy bar?
Yeah.
God damn.
I agree.
Courtney.
Well done.
That's our
Courtney. This is the secretary you guys hear so much about. Say hi, Courtney.
Hello.
There's the girl we know.
Oh. Well, I will say last few questions before we wrap this up. One is, where did you get your name Turels from?
It was just like a random friend of mine. It has some other connections. I don't know the full story behind it. I will need to double check, but it just sort of connected, and it's stuck ever since. So I've had it since I was like 12, 13, and I've just kept it. It's like, okay, cool nickname. I'll keep it. And I couldn't, and it was Turel, but then I couldn't have Turel because the name was taken, so I just whacked an S at the end of it. That's the truth. Like, I'm not gonna lie about it. But it's kind of funny though, because it goes into one of the things I previously said when I talked about duality and the Hatman thing. One of the things that I do actually think about is like, especially like in here, is duality. Yeah. A lot of things, because it goes hand in hand, right? In real life and otherwise. You can come from a bad home, from a bad place, and still turn out to be a good person. Or you can come from a perfect home and still end up being a bad piece of shit person. And that's something that's always interesting. It's one of the reasons why I have this avatar, is because of that duality. And also because of like Buddhist teaching as well. There's like stories from Buddhism that talk about Buddha turning a demon into a monk.
So I guess it'll lead to the next question. Why do you wear the avatar you do?
Yeah, it is the duality thing. It's definitely the duality question, because it that stuff does matter. Like, you know, as I said, it's not hard not to be an asshole, but sometimes that's outside of our hands. We could be in a bad environment and still turn out to be a good person. That happens to a lot of people in our lives. Or you can have the perfect life and then still be a piece of shit at the end of it. Because we've all seen it. We've all seen people like that. You know, it doesn't take much not to be an arsehole. And that's why I believe in natural duality. Because there's always going to be the back end and the right end of it. Because this isn't just me and the avatar. Of course, I have the Hatman avatar, which I'll just switch into now. Hang on 1 second.
Oh.
Because it goes into the thing about duality.
Sorry to interrupt, but have you told him about how you spelled his name before when you gave me his name for the interview? And you had a proper kicker about it?
Oops.
Oh, God.
Oh, I forgot the S at the
yeah.
end. It was Turel versus Turels.
Yeah,
No, one is Tourette's, so you read it out before.
Correct. Yeah, I got autocorrected to Tourette's.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, until I noticed it, because my phone autocorrect system fucks me so much. Like, for example, I went to have a chat with my mom, and I wanted to say, I'm sorry for something, but my phone autocorrect decided, no, it's going to be, you are sorry, which started a whole other set of problems right after. And I'll send the message without looking sometimes. I should really look. Oh, well.
Yeah.
yeah. But it's kind of like this avatar as well, like the Hatman avatar. Because you've seen the memes. I've seen you the memes.
Also, could you explain the memes? The poor avatar memes.
God. Okay. This is back before we could limit what avatars didn't affect, like the GPU, right? So of course you get people like me. Hey, can you change to a poor better avatar, please? And that sort of stuck, and it's stuck so much that there's people who see me even now, and they switch to an avatar as poor better. Like, they just see me and it just stuck, and then it became a meme. And it doesn't matter if it was Mirror Mask doing it, or it's other people that have done memes, or, you know, people doing little videos. Oh, this avatar's me. I understand. I do apologize, but you could agree coming into this club saying poor better, please. If you cannot respect that, you're going to have to leave. Well, you know, and then I have to remove them. My whole thing is I would rather keep an eye on people's behavior than waste my time telling them to switch out of an avatar. That's a personal opinion, and I've sort of always been that way. Because back then it did matter a lot more, because hey, we if you're on like the newer graphics cards, they don't have a lot of VRAM. So if you're in a room full of very poors, it's going to kill your graphics card.
Oh yeah.
And back then, even limiting that, it's still backed up onto your card anyway. It caused problems, and also there was things like texture memory, which caused problems. So that's how all the memes started to happen. Because I used to always go around and ask people, "Hey, can you switch to a poor better, please? Hey, how are you today?" And a lot of the times, I got people like, "Oh, yeah, no problem, that's fine." But then on the opposite hand, I had a lot of people that told me to go myself. I'm not going to say the next word. or came out with other extreme stuff. So the things are sort of stuck. The Hatman meme stuck. And even though I don't use this much, because I also wear other weird avatars. This is public, by the way. If you see this avatar, it's public. You can find it. Because it's based on the LSD Dream Simulator. That's what it's based off of. But it's also just the Hat Man as well. Everyone knows the Hat Man, the story of the Hat Man. He just sort of stuck. Even Rue makes jokes of it, saying there's people who, when I walk into the club, they automatically change when they see me. Rue's seen that, and I know Aliquin's seen that as well as others. But I don't do that much anymore. Not unless the owners want me, or whatever club I may be staffing for, ask me to do it. Because it's not much of an issue, because now we can actually we can block avatars, and it doesn't affect our performance anymore because we block the avatar if it's a very poor or a poor, so on and so forth. There's also imposters, which is another thing, which people, please do that. If you own an avatar, please create an imposter. It helps so much for some people. Please.
Please create imposters. They taste great with sauce. Okay, I'll stop.
The fucking puns. Here we go with the fucking puns.
Isn't it punny that it always ends up that way?
For Raptor, it's punishment at this point.
And it's a punishment for me, but hey, if you can't jump in the puddle, I guess you just can't be a puddle of a pun all the way around.
Yeah. But yeah, the Hatman meme started because of that, though. It just started because the friends were in the community. And because I staffed like 1 million bloody places. Which some people ask me, well, how much like actual time do you put into it? It's like, not much when you think about it. Like, if I can't staff one place because I'm staffing somewhere else the next week after, I'm like, okay, won't do that place this week. I have to go this place this week. And it is, I don't do it because it's like a full-time job. There's no way. I don't have that much free time. Wish I did. but don't have that much free time to do it as a full-time job. Even then, I'm not getting paid for it. But even Tupper's made a joke about me being an SCP. Like, I'm not even joking. I've got proof of that as well to back up that statement. Because the reason why Tupper's so shocked is because of how quickly I could spot a very poor avatar from a mile away. Just as me entering the club, I could see it. So yeah, that's a very poor straight away. I don't even have to check the avatar. I can see it. He's like, how? If he looks at me and says, "How do you know?" I said, "I'm just right, trust me." And then he checked. He was, Jesus Christ, and that's how the SCP thing goddamn started. Oh God.
Well, Turels, thank you so very much for having this chat with us. It's an absolute pleasure getting to meet you when I actually have audio this time and I'm not fucking up the podcast.
As I said, tech issues happen. We've all gone through it. I do apologise as from waffling on or feeling like I'm half dead because as I'm running on 50% of my brain right now. Like
don't apologize. As I said in the beginning, don't apologize for waffling. Don't apologize for talking. This is a podcast. That's kind of the point, is to talk. It is so. Yeah. Oh, also, you audience, if after this video you want to see another instance of tech issues fucking up, go to an old white Strelitzia video. You get to watch me freeze with my legs in the air. You're welcome.
That was a good one. I remember that. No, you can't forget that one. No, not at all.
But if people are curious to find me, they can find me on Twitter, which is Turels_VR. They can find me there. They can find me on SoundCloud, where I post up most of my sets. There will be music, my own music, sometime soon. .tm. That will go on that page also. You'll see me everywhere if you're in the community. Hope you're all doing well, by the way. You find me on SoundCloud. I think it's Turels on SoundCloud. I think I have to double check. I can't remember off the top of my head. That's generally it. You can just find me anywhere and everywhere.
Oh.
Now on YouTube.com.
Check the Hoobly What's down that way in the description, where all the fun links will always sit and hang out by themselves and lonely. You should keep them company. Okay. Well, before we go, I would like to give Raptor the thing. I'd like to ask you, the audience, a question. What's your favorite VR chat club if you're aware? And if you've never been, come to VR chat, come find one, come hang out, and then let us know where you went. Raptor, you know the thing.
I got you. No matter what your passion is, folks, it could be everywhere. My hands are dying and everything else like this because this fool needs new batteries. And could be a passion of its own. But when you're having a good time and having a lot of fun and my hands just died, no matter what, if you let out the air of the balloon too much, whatever the situation might be, don't let it out all at once. Because you might end up just like me. You have a good one, folks. And I am waving at the camera, but my hand's batteries just went dead. Son of a bitch.
Don't do drugs, Mkai. Drugs are a really bad thing, kids.